Okay, why don't I go ahead and get started? It doesn't look like we're going to have everybody jump on real soon here. So reading from the script. So today's SRLJC meeting will begin with public comment for up to 15 minutes. As a reminder, there's a 3-minute limit per individual. Speakers should address the matters which is within the powers of the SRLJC, and understand that no one will be responding. We'll take your comments and by email, and we'll respond back when we have an opportunity. There's a sign-up list that Karen has. If you wish to speak, then please let her know that you want to do that, and then we'll get that started. So we'll start with the public comment. It starts. Yes.
It looks like we don't have anybody on other than just the people that are on the meeting. So.
Okay. Seeing no one in the gallery, and then also no written testimony, Karen, or any other emails or anything?
No.
Okay. Seeing that there's none, then I would move that we go ahead and move on with our agenda, if everybody's comfortable with that. Okay. Super. Let the record reflect that we did have an open 15 minutes for public comment. There was no public comment. If someone does come on, then we'll, of course, entertain that. We'll begin the agenda with the September 14th, 2022 SRLJ minutes. I trust that everybody got a copy of them. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
John Haley here. I'll move to approve minutes.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second, Chief Simmons.
Okay, we have a second on that. So all in favor of the minutes, the way that they have been prepared and had a chance to review them, say aye, or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Good. Okay, let us show that the minutes have passed unanimously, and we'll move on to the next agenda item. So we'd like to welcome Rochelle Cleland, who she's the new victims advocate at large. We're very happy to have her. So Rochelle, can you just give us kind of a little brief description of yourself and why you joined?
I would love to. Yes. Hello, everyone. Name is Rochelle. Nice to see some familiar faces. I am the advocacy director at LCSNW, or Lutheran Community Services. We're Spokane County's community sexual assault program that operates 24 hours a day in Crime Victim Service Center. And so happy to be here. I would love to, just looking for the opportunity to continue to be involved in systems work within advocacy world. It really impacts survivors and victims that we interact with and their ability to heal, options to healing and to justice. And so a huge part of just systems coordination. And so would love to connect, to learn more, have a voice at the table, ensure that victims' voices as well are heard in kind of that battle of criminal justice reform that often impacts victims themselves, those that have experienced trauma. So happy to learn more and to collaborate.
Super. Thank you for that introduction. We're all happy to have you. And just kind of an update, it's next on the agenda. The board is still reviewing the racial equity chair. We do have an applicant for that. And so once that has been selected by the BOCC, then we'll move forward with that. And finally, hands clapping, we'll have the composition of our SRLJC completed. And so just in time for us to make some other adjustments, of course. And so that kind of brings us up to the next one. We're going to have to take nominations. And do we have a quorum, Karen?
Hang on, let me look real quick.
According to the bylaws, I want to make sure that.
Let's see.
Judge, did you have a question?
I do have a question going back to number 4, the update on race and equity chair at large position. There was an email a while back as to whether there needed to be a vote or just to send the single applicant that we have to the Board of County Commissioners. My suggestion is just to send the applicant that we have to the Board of County Commissioners. What is the holdup on this? I think we've had his application for quite a long time.
Yeah, and I did, Judge, Your Honor, I did send it forward to the Board of County Commissioners. I think it's just been trying to get them all in one place for them to sit down and discuss it. I would apologize on their behalf because I know that they've been preoccupied with a lot of budget, getting the budget approved, a lot of budget meetings in between there. But I would do my best to get before them within their next opportunity to meet, which I believe is in January 13th, and then get on this topic right away. So,
Thank you for that additional information.
yeah, and I appreciate that, Your Honor.
And yes, Mike, we do have a quorum.
We do have a quorum. Okay.
Yes.
Then we can move forward with the next one. So Ozzy Knezovich is, of course, leaving the county and moving back home to Wyoming. And we'll have to take nominations as we should, which will be effective January 1st of 2023 for a chair and a vice chair. Do I have any nominations for those two positions? Justin?
I would, Mike, I would like to nominate you as our chair, as you are the Senior Director of Criminal Justice for the county. I think that you're engaged in every system within the county and would probably bring a fairly holistic view to lead the council. So that would be my nomination.
Okay.
And I would like to second Justin's nomination. I think he was reading my mind. I was just about ready to unmute and suggest the same thing.
Okay. Well, we have a nomination for the chair. We'll go to vote. All in favor of the vote, just signify by a yes or raising your hand. So I'm trying to count them. There's 1, 2, 3. Karen, can you see them all? Because I can't see them all. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
it looks like I'm the chair, so we'll put me down for that. Now I'd like to take nominations for the vice chair.
Hey, Mike, this is Tim. I'd like to nominate Justin Bingham. He has a wealth of knowledge. He's been with this council since the very stand-up of the council when we first inaugurated, I don't know how many years back. And he's got some great ideas to still pursue.
Yeah, I would like to second that nomination. So all in favor or take a vote of Justin becoming the vice chair by a show of hands, please. Okay, Steve? It's not, but it's not showing up on the screen. Okay, well, it looks like it passes unanimously. Welcome, Justin, as the vice chair. I appreciate that. Also, during this upcoming cycle, it looks like there's some other positions that if you've not served a 2-year or had a 2-year commitment that would need to rotate to, and that would be the municipal prosecutor. Justin, is that it? Go ahead.
I have one more year and then we will rotate.
Okay.
So.
All right. And realize we're going back and trying to correct all these dates. So you have an additional year.
Yes,
So
and we'll have to talk amongst ourselves what we do next with the people that are municipal prosecutors.
Okay. Your Honor, it looks like the municipal court, have you had a 2-year term or is it your first year?
I have just had 1 year as well. So I think I've got 1 more year.
Good. Thank you. I don't see Laura Patton on here, but one that comes up is a city legislative rep. So I think that
Mike, I think all of those are in their first year because last year about this time, we were asked all the entities to bring forward. So I don't know if there's anyone that is beyond that 1 year. I could be wrong, but I think that Laura Patton is also first year serving on this council.
okay, super. And I think that's true of you too, Chief, is that this your first year as well, isn't it?
Correct.
So the one that I have a question about would be Superior Court. Judge McKay, are you going to stay on? Or is there going to be a changing of the guard?
I am still on for one more year.
Okay, perfect. And then Judge Mauer, the same would be for you, or is there going to be a changing of the guard?
I suspect there will be a changing of the guard. So
Okay.
I think Judge Fossbender will take over. We're going to have those conversations and then next 2 weeks before the end of the year. But I suspect you will be having Judge Fossbender join you.
Okay, if you could just let Karen know by email, then we could keep track of it. Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate
I
it.
will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Tori, I'm assuming that you're going to stay on for juvenile court.
As long as my boss here, Judge McKay, says so, yes, I am here.
You're getting the indication that that's going to happen. All right, great. Okay. All right, well, we're moving pretty quick on this agenda here. Let's see what else is on there.
Mike, you had mentioned a conversation before the meeting officially started about how to start the year off with more frequent meetings than the quarterly meetings that were decided last time we met. So I don't know, did you want to gauge the room as to the feeling on that?
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Really, as you've probably all seen from the newspaper or have heard already, that the Board of County Commissioners are going to put it out to the voters to decide on what our new facility, not just facility, but our new system would look like. And with that occurring, this body of work right here is very important to that. And so what I would like to recommend is that at least for the first 6 months of the coming year, that we go back to once a month meeting. And I would just put that out for everyone for a motion, if everyone is agreeable on that. Actually, I'll make the motion and say I would like to go out a monthly meeting for the first 6 months of 2023. I'll make that. All right. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah. Okay.
Aye.
So it would pass with the majority.
Well,
So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
did we get any discussion with regards to this?
Yeah. Okay. Well, any discussion?
But I obviously, all of us are on quite a few meetings on a regular basis. My concern is making sure that we have a set agenda for what it is we're supposed to be discussing. So while this is passed and I see that this is a request that the BOCC is making and putting it on the ballot, do we have business to do that is going to be effective? In other words, if we're meeting, what are we meeting for?
Well, there'll be a lot of systems talk about the justice system and discussion that revolves around that. The needs assessment on the front end of it generally addresses a body community involvement along with a body of justice professionals to discuss some of the things that will come out of that, including, the case processing and some of the things that are involved around that. Whether we have another courtroom in the jail and discussions about that, was it there's several discussions along the way that would involve that. There's also the front end work that, the site and release and who's coming through the front door and the types of individuals that we're booking into jail. So there'll be a lot of conversation, Judge McKay, that will be involved with justice conversations that will be involved.
And I'm presuming then we'll have information and data and
Yes, ma'am.
something to look at before we get to these meetings versus just reading it in the newspaper that this is what's occurred.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to comment on why we need to have them every month. We just added Rochelle to our community representatives, and I'm assuming that Curtis Hampton will soon join, and I think we need to hear their voices for the next few months and hear where they're coming from. And I'd like an opportunity to speak on the same issue I always speak on, which is jail population and programs in our jail and such as that. And so I'm looking forward to being able to put that out there every month and just keep fighting at the heels of our commissioners to allow programs into our system. So speaking as a community representative, I think the three of us would really welcome an opportunity to be on a more frequent basis, at least like you say, for the first 6 months. So that's where I'm coming from on that.
Yeah, I think it's very important for this body to meet and just to have this sounding board and able to make some of those discussions and let this board see what progress has been made, some of the assumptions that have been made, test those assumptions, and make sure that we're on the right track. And I can't speak enough for this board. I think this board is vital to the planning process moving forward. Any other comments?
So, Mike, I have a question.
Yeah.
In the past, when we were, I think, the most effective on this council, we did actually do work and brought ideas and proposals forward. Is that what you're envisioning this council? Because I think that we have, I guess, languished a little bit over the last few years. As Judge McKay said, essentially things were just brought to us and presented. It sounds like there's a lot of open discussion about what would be used or what this sales tax revenue would be used for. So is that what you're suggesting? That
That's exactly what I'm suggesting, Justin, is that we this is the sounding board. We have a collaborative, discussion about it. We, discuss the things that we are, like I said, are making for assumptions, test them. And then if there's body of work to go away with, then that's what we do. We go away, we come back to the collective group and we put the recommendations or some way for us to move forward on the path. I don't have all the answers right now, Justin. And but I think that this board has to be involved with this process.
Are you suggesting that we have actual working committees or work groups or things that, I guess that's the question that I have. Are you talking about more than just a meeting every month?
Right. No, I anticipate there'll be work groups spun off of this group because obviously you guys are the SMEs and you have a lot of expertise to bring to the table. And I want it to be as collaborative as possible, regional. I want everyone's voice, the community's voice, and everybody to be involved with it. So I don't, I'm developing the work plan right now. It's going to take me, probably until the middle of January to get something prepared for it. But I'm hoping to bring back at least a model to you next meeting for us to look at. You guys make suggestions about, and then from there we could take it and kind of digest it and break it down as we need to. So I don't want to get, Justin, I don't want to go back to where we have a whole bunch of committees. We're having these challenges. They're not working on it. They're having problems meeting together. So the key decision makers and the policy makers are sitting here. And this is what I'd really like to do is engage this group in the conversation to start making some of these revisions and hopefully, create a system that's a system. It's, this is not a jail discussion. It's not about building jail beds. It's about improving the overall system and then having enough, capacity to support what we move forward. And that's how I see it. So.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yep, absolutely. Judge Maurer.
So the only thing that I would ask of this board as I leave is to just please remember that it sounds like there will be some evolution in how the board operates perhaps, and what your mission statement may be or how that's exactly facilitated, etc. But this board did unanimously vote to utilize the Race Equity Toolkit. And so as new intentions are sort of created, I guess, for this board and its purpose, I just encourage you to remember that that's there. And until that this board elects to remove that requirement for new policies and procedures, that's what this board has committed themselves to do. And so I just ask you to continue to remember that because it can be forgotten. And there's a fidelity to that model, which includes, by virtue of how you utilize that tool, having community members and those who are impacted by the policies or procedures that are suggested at the table and helping to inform those decisions. So that would be my only comment, as it sounds like there potentially may be changes as to how the board functions in the future.
Yeah, very well said. And I concur. And I think that that's what we should be doing, is looking at it through every possible lens, that so that we have that engagement. So, Chief, did you have a comment? I thought I saw.
Yeah, just digressing slightly back to the time commitment of once a month. Also keep in mind that this next legislative session, there could possibly be some changes that will improve and restore the accountability of criminals that could potentially increase the number of individuals that we see going through our judicial system and also corrections. So need to keep that in mind too. So we should keep up on those updates and have those discussions as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Matter of fact, I'll make a note of that, Chief. Thank you. Okay, well, I'll open up. It's kind of already been, but I'll open it up to any roundtable discussions that we want to have at this point. I will bring up Judge Maurer that the MacArthur Foundation did agree to fund a supported release program, so we can, we'll be at the thumbs up, hallelujah, let's go. So we'll be engaging you here pretty soon. Probably have to go by resolution for the board. I'll get there as fast as I can and then get back over to the planning process. I very much appreciate, and maybe even this body, any help on the planning, the front end planning process. I would definitely, want to be a part of that, or have you be a part of that. I'm sorry. So
I know when we visited in the core group, even if Judge Fossbender, by virtue of her position and her own interest, may decide to take that formal role, I'm happy to stay on just at your guys' invitation and help facilitate whatever I can there. And then likewise here, I'll attend as a panelist, and because I'm still interested and committed to the work that we're doing within our region. So absolutely, if I can be of assistance, I'm happy to do that.
Well, thank you, because
Mike,
I didn't want to have to bring flowers, fruit, chocolate, whatever, after vacation days, whatever I have to do to kind of con you into it. But I'm glad that you're going to stay on and help. I appreciate that a lot. So,
Mike, can I ask a question on the grant? I was able to speak with Lori Garducki when I was in St. Louis for the Prosecutors Leadership Institute a couple weeks ago, and she indicated that they had not made a decision at that point about our capstone grant proposal, but it would be made in the near future. Have you heard anything in the last couple weeks?
I have not, but I've not heard anything. But that's what I'm getting to, is the end of year. It's the end of the year. So we're all kind of just waiting on that part of it.
She did indicate that their board would have to review all of those applications, and some have been approved and some have still sort of waiting for review. And we were one of those. I didn't know if she'd give you any information the last 2 weeks.
No, but that's got to be a laborious process to read through all of those and go through them individually and then check it against the work, because that's what they said they were going to do. And then also, looking at your kind of your balance sheet or how the finances have been spent, and then weighing those options out. So I imagine it is going to take up a little bit of time to pour through it. So anything else? Yeah, John.
I just wanted to ask a couple questions, Mike. Are we still without programs in our jail system?
Yeah. So when you look at Geiger has programs going on operating presently. Okay. So it probably the look of it probably looks different than you're used to, John, when you were out there. But they still are operating programs out of Geiger.
Okay.
The work crews had to shut down because we didn't have enough staff to staff them.
Okay.
And what we do is we're kind of taking that on a case-by-case basis. We pulled together some for the county fair because that's such a big effort on the county part that could help out with that. But those have gone kind of by the wayside until we can get additional staff on board. The programming inside the jail, as you know, is problematic because the floors are doubled up. And so that means while a portion of the population is out for their time for recreation to use the telephone, the other portion is locked down, and those require 30-minute rounds and for our officers to be looking in out of there. In our new system, that's what I want to change. I want to get back to direct supervision at a ratio of 1:64. And I want to open it up to where programming and services could be brought to the justice involved population. And that's our target, and that again will take some planning. Again, will take input from all of you on what these programs look like and how they'll move forward. The Community Correction Center is going to be designed to be more programs. It's going to be meant to help the offenders on their way for reentry to overcome the barriers that probably would lead to recidivism, and then also to get them with the necessary wraparound services for them to have a better outcome once they are out. The going from a charge-based system, which we have right now, your housing is based on your charge and your classification level. We want to go to an individualized case management approach, where they would pick up a case manager at the front end that would be with them all the way through to their probation or all the way to their release, and then monitor them. We don't want to over monitor them because there's some evidence that says that you can over monitor, and that's more detrimental. But we do want to have some accountability built into the process so that we're making sure that they're meeting their deadlines and doing that. We also are going to keep the rideshare program going because I think that just has shown us that Uber ride has been successful in getting over that hurdle of transportation to get them back, John. And so that is, I think, a very rewarding step that Maggie Yates initiated through MacArthur, and I think it's doing a great job. And at least that's what I'm hearing from all of the key stakeholders. And then along with that, we are looking again at the supported release, and that's going to be a launching point. I'm hoping that is the pilot to something greater. At least it has my support and the core group support. And now MacArthur has backed it up after looking into the RFP and everything else. So I think that's going to be. So it's kind of a long answer to your question, John, but we're doing what we can for programs. It's based on space limitations and the safety of the staff and the numbers that we can have out at a time. So the answer up on the floors is probably a no. And it is a no. I know they're not doing any programming up there. And the one thing that we did realize that after COVID is COVID impacted our detention facility on a lot of different fronts. It isn't just, case process, not just length to stay. It impacted a lot of the service that we had going, and then reinitiating and contacting them to try to re-engage and get some of those things fired back up. It's been quite an effort. And so what we are doing is working towards some of those things as well.
Well, I appreciate that, Mike, and in particular, the Community Correction Center and taking steps in that direction and categorization of the inmates. But I wanted to point out that right now we have looks like 17 individuals in the downtown and 4 in Geiger that are no hold misdemeanors, and so that's where we're headed, is trying to reduce that. And out of those people, it looks like, in keeping with our racial equity toolkit, that at least 12% of those people on the no hold misdemeanors are people of color. And so I just want to point that out, particularly to our prosecutors and our defenders, that there are people who are languishing in there just for the lack of funds, that could be out and trying to improve their lives on the outside rather than being languishing, particularly at Geiger, that is really, well, we know the status of the facility at Geiger, so I won't go into that. But I appreciate your explanation, and I appreciate you moving forward on that. That's good news to me that we're getting programs rolling. Thank you.
Yeah, and John, I'm sure there's more to the story than just the bond question or the reason behind it. Of course, there's some other ones behind. And that's why I want to get to that individualized case management. I want to get away from the charge and that charge decision being made, and even the release decision being made in the booking area for SCGORs. I mean, those are things that we need to work on as a community and as a team to try to, do some improvement on that front and some accountability back into the system both ways, both for, the victim side of it and also for the offender side of it, and what necessary resources and services need to be wrapped around them as well. So thank you, John. I appreciate that. Randy, I think you had your hand up first. You're on mute. We're getting kicked off just right, Randy.
Okay, sorry. So a couple of things as you were talking, I just wanted to jump in on and just pose to the group. We also are moving into a new model of supervision and more of a coaching model with our reentry services and partnering with local agencies. So with what you said about moving towards case management, I'd really like to see a good partnership between both agencies, because a lot of the people that you have coming in and out of your facility are going to be coming back to community corrections for the state as well. So
I think it's vital. I think we have to have a partnership, Randy. And I think that, like you just said, their charges touch probably all three judges, all three courts, so that collaboration has to be built into what we're going to do in the future.
So, and I do realize that we have been at limited staffing in the jail. We've had significant barriers there. In the future, just throwing this out there, we'd really like to move back towards our contract and partnering and being able to book violators into your facility. I know that we've got a lot going on at this point, but I just want to keep that as part of the discussion, because we have had significant trouble incarcerating some of the folks that really need to be incarcerated. And don't get me wrong, the jail, I've called and talked to lieutenants and sergeants, and in a pinch, they will help us absolutely, without a doubt. But we've got a lot of people in the community that might really need to be incarcerated, and we're struggling with booking availability as far as our prison facility, and we don't have good booking at the jail right now. Yeah. And then a lot of you may be aware that we were awarded a grant, a domestic violence grant, to partner with the prosecutor's office in establishing a domestic violence court program. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. If you weren't aware, the prosecutor's office may be able to speak more on that topic, but that is also something that's in the works between the two agencies.
So Randy, to your point, this is why this committee, this body is so important. We're all transferring and handling the same offenders. What is lacking is de-siloing and collaboration. And we've all known that. No one's trying to hide that fact. It's been that way for quite a while. So those are the things that we have to be honest, open, and attack. We have to look at those things. What's the best way to best path forward? Get it down. If there's MOUs that have to be established, so be it. We're going to have to get through those things and get those things established for the system. If it's going to be a holistic system, a regional system, one that's best for the community. Those are the things that I think we've just got to. It's paramount for this body to work on. Judge Maurer, you've had your hand up for a while. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It actually gave me an opportunity to look at some numbers here. Mike, you said that you're going to keep the rideshare program going. Is that whether or not MacArthur continues to fund that? And if so, is that been something the board is committed to fund? Or I'm just curious as to that comment, because one of the other challenges I think the SRLJC has, or may have in the future, is there have been various initiatives, right, that were funded by MacArthur, and that money at some point is going to go away. And so the only place that can come from is the board. Correct. And so, and I use this only as an example, but the telephone call program, and I apologize, I can't remember what it's called, where there was some folks who were calling individuals and reminding them of their court date reminder program. That was relatively successful, and then it just wasn't funded. And so and I don't know if it was just because there wasn't enough time for there to have been a pitch made to the board with the data showing, how that was successful or not successful. And if it was successful, what does that mean in dollars? Because, we were able to essentially recreate that program with Pioneer Human Services. And we just got our numbers back and went over these at the judges meeting. So I just have them top of mind. But we just started in September. So between September and December, for those folks, for example, who we had a good number and we actually were able to contact them, we had an 87% appearance rate, which out of 357 folks who we contacted in the last, 3.5 months, that's roughly, what is 87% of 357? I think roughly comes out to be about 310 people if they had spent one night in jail. So, presuming they didn't get that phone call, they didn't come to court, that would have been $40,000. And the average length of stay on a warrant, we know, is more than 1 day. It's probably more like 2 or 3. So those are the kinds of, I guess, what I'm wondering is has the board made a commitment to keep the ride share program, because that is a phenomenal program. I mean, it's incredible in what it's doing. And if they don't, what is the plan for, how do we communicate to the board what that means in dollars and cents and saving the system in dollars and cents?
Thank you. Yeah. So you're right. It's going to have to come to it's a sustainability part of it's going to have to come to the board, Your Honor. And so I'd like to, as we move forward, propose these as part of the system. So it's a systems approach. We're addressing some of the barriers for getting them back to court, and it's in conjunction with the courts. And the court date reminder, whether it's Uptrust or it's the one that you just developed, district court just developed, I think it's definitely shown benefits. And I think that what we need to do is to consolidate that as a group and have it land in the right place. And then we need to look at a long-term strategy for that to move forward. And so that's going to take this conversation. It's going to be one of the things we need to discuss as a group and come back and say, listen, we know court date reminders are working. Where's the best place for this to reside? Here's the supporting data that goes along with it. And then it's a presentation in front of the board. And we show them that, the benefits of having these programs in place and what it means to the courts and, quite honestly, to the justice involved. They're getting a reminder that stuff happens. It's part of that step up, step down model. A violation, everybody's going to screw up. A violation doesn't necessarily mean a trip to the booking area. Is there other sanctions along the way, graduated sanctions, that could be, talked about through probation, through the courts, and those type of things. Again, conversations that are going to have to take place at this, at this level. And just one quick thing on that, the court date reminder, the one that fell off was because of staff. Betty Grapo was the one that was holding that together, and she just did a fantastic job. She took a new position with Spokane Public Schools. And then the supporting staff that she had were law students from GU, and they didn't wish to continue into the summer. They were going to go their way. So the staff basically fell apart on that front for the court date reminders. And if you remember, the original intent of that was during the COVID was to give an opportunity for somebody to call them and find out what they should be doing during the COVID, with social distancing. Should I be at court, not be at court? And them as a helping hand through the way that Meg had set it up. And then it switched gears to a court date reminder when they weren't getting as many incoming calls as they could make on the outcoming, So I'm not disagreeing whatsoever that court date reminders don't work. I just think what we need to do is consolidate as a group and figure out where the best landing spot for that and how we move forward with it. So my 2 cents worth.
Yeah. Because I think, it seems to me at any rate that maybe I'm giving people too much credit, but if you can actually show a savings, right? I mean, then it's pretty, if the programs are successful and you can show the dollar and cents savings, the question would become, then why wouldn't we do this, right? And so, but it takes collecting that data, it takes making that presentation. And I think that in the phone call reminder system, because I met with Betty. I mean, she would have stayed on, but the message she was receiving was, there's no funding for your position come X date. So she started looking for a different job. But we weren't able to collect that data and get it in front of, I think, the decision makers. And so when those funds ran out, those people moved on. Right, because Pioneers picked that up and is doing it for free. So it's actually more cost effective, that the way that it ended up. But for example, the rideshare program, I would hate to see that same scenario play out in the rideshare program, because at least speaking from the district court, it's been incredibly successful for us.
Right, and maybe what, as we spend this and head into this new planning process, that's our, courts show up, whatever we call that, so that, missed appearances, whatever we want to do as a body, and bring that together as a part of the overall strategy. Here's the courts, here's how they're operating. This is what we're recommending as a body for having them show up at court date reminders and rides to get them there to overcome those barriers, but as part of a larger strategy. And I think that's what I'm proposing, Judge Mauer. Anybody else? You start losing everybody about a half hour into this. Everybody's looking at their clocks and, oh my. So anyway, okay. So I appreciate your time. If there's nothing else, then I'll let you guys have some more of your time back today. I will have Karen send out the meeting schedule moving forward. And also I will add on their agenda items of the things that we just talked about. And we'll start that body of work and start, maybe we do start on, some of the court strategies and getting them to court as one of them, and then these things build onto a larger thing as we're doing the planning process. So I will also have for you by the next meeting, the kind of the project outlay and the needs assessment, some of the things that I've addressed, and looking through the needs assessment, looking for some feedback to add to that and some input. And I should have that, like I said, done by, at least the January meeting, so that we can start looking at those things. And then you can readily see what impacts you and what doesn't impact you, and as it starts coming together, and then we'll talk about those things. So, anything else? Okay, you all have a great day. Thank you for coming.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.